A History of the Earthquake and Fire in San Francisco by Frank W. Aitken and Edward Hilton. Published 1906. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a picture of San Francisco on fire in 1906. An account of the disaster of April 18th, 1906, and its immediate results by Frank W. Aitken and Edward Hilton. There are many photos in this, illustrations and photos. We'll see. Get used to me turning the book up a lot. Many photos. The Old San Francisco. In some vast travail of a bygone age, a peninsula was born. Its birthright was a harbor, landlocked save for its Golden Gate, and beyond an empire of unrevealed wealth. For untold ages it slept. The child dream of power stole upon it. Suddenly it woke and looked upon the sail-capped waters of its harbor. What had been a lonely stretch of sand became a city. They called it San Francisco. Founded as a mission outpost by far-journeying Franciscan friars in 1776, it grew but slowly until 1849. Clustered around the Mission Dolores and the Presidio, or around the sheltered cove of Yerba Buena, under the brow of Telegraph Hill, where an occasional ship dropped anchor to trade for hides. The people had little to do but amuse themselves with their loves and foibles, to go to horse races and bullfights, fiestas and fandangos. They were as carefree as the fat herds that roamed the rich valleys of their nearby ranchos. In 1849 came the awakening, with the rush of thousands of adventurous Argonauts in a quest of wealth that lay in the Californian mountainsides and valleys. The dreaming peninsula was the natural port of entry and base of supplies for the gold fields, and straightway a little settlement grew up in the Yerba Buena Cove, where thrifty Americanos traded for the gold their fellows brought down from the mines. A city sprang up, after the fashion of any frontier settlement, wooden shacks to shelter traders and gamblers and saloon keepers and beyond, in the insubstantial homes of their various families. 3 years before Captain Montgomery of the United States war sloop Portsmouth had planted the American flag in what subsequently became Portsmouth Square. But that act alone could not make the mission military town American in its habits. The loves and intrigues and fandangos went on just the same. The men of 49, restless, tired of claptrap conventions, ever ready for new sensations, came along and fell into the ways of the natives, began to live their easygoing life. These first days of San Francisco, the American were such as might have been expected, where many men of many sorts were thrown together without any common tie, where the law was weak and the men's passions were strong. So we're going to show pictures. There's Mission Dolores. And these are early San Francisco illustrations. They were days marked in passing with crime and greed and debauchery. with hardship and many an unwritten story of privation, and of fortunes made in a day and gambled away overnight. It was a hardy, rough and tumble people that formed that first settlement, men from many climes. The sturdy stock of New England mixed freely with the old England's younger sons, and the men of the continent, and with the hot blood of the Orient and the Equator. They were a happy lot, too, light-hearted, indifferent, taking things as they found them, in serene contentment. That beginning gave to San Francisco an individuality and a glamour of romance all its own. The start was picturesque, cosmopolitan, and through all the years a carnival spirit of light-heartedness has been the motif of the people. Always it has been San Francisco the Golden, a city of adventure, a city of legend, a city of many peoples, a city of the Arabian Nights. Of it Bret Harte well sang. Oh, sing. Oh. Serene, indifferent to fate, thou sittest at the western gate. Thou seest the white seas fold their tents, O warder of two continents. Out of that settlement around Yerba Buena Cove, that chance stopping place of people bound for the mines, a city grew, almost in spite of itself. Soon came ships bringing merchandise from all over the world, the treasure of two continents. Various business interests allied themselves with its destiny. In 1853, the population had grown to be 36,000. The road to the Mission Dolores had become Mission Street, planked throughout its length. California Street, for a distance of 3 blocks, was a thriving thoroughfare. The city had stretched out to the base of Telegraph Hill on the north and back to the foot of Nob Hill on the west. It expanded southward. Soon Market Street was extended a block into the bay and graded with sand from the Montgomery Street hills. The bay end of the street was then 4 blocks from its present location. On the west it ended at the line of sand hills parallel with Montgomery Street. A little further west, where a creek meandered through a cemetery, the present site of the City Hall, there was a favorite hunting ground, far out in the country. 10 years later, the city had 90,000 people. The Latin Quarter had sprung up at the base and on the sides of Telegraph Hill. Chinatown had become quite a village on the slopes of Nob Hill to the west. The American city had expanded out over the tide flats. Gradually, high water mark receded further and further eastward, and buildings appeared on the filled ground. Many were supported on piles in the water, some only on a loose filling of whatever came to hand. A stranded ship on the beach was righted and converted into a building. Finally, when all the filling in was done, this ship, buried under the foundations of a tall building, was a full quarter-mile from the new waterfront. The people were of the pleasure-loving type in '63 as in '49. They worked by day and spent their nights in bohemian fun. In 1868, the building of the Palace Hotel was commenced. After completion, this hotel was recognized for years as the finest in the world. About this time, the Central Pacific Railroad was completed. Overland communication by rail with the East bore quick results. One by one, various activities, commercial, manufacturing, financial, centered themselves around the city's harbor. San Francisco became the metropolis of a vast territory, a world power. Its trade was established. Montgomery Street became a Wall Street in miniature. The city was the financial center of this rapidly developing West. Prosperity smiled upon it. Wealth poured in from all sides. Its increase in population and trade was phenomenal. The glamour of wealth and magic growth surrounded it. Following the advent of the railroad had come wonderful development. To the men interested in it, the road brought fabulous riches. And drunk with sudden wealth, they, Huntington, Stanford, Crocker, erected palaces on Nob Hill, each trying to outdo the other in the splendor of his mansion. A few years later, they were joined by Fair and Flood of the Comstock, upon whom also fortune had suddenly showered untold wealth. This is just Sportport's images. Nob Hill, thus crowned with dwellings that had cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to build, became known the world over. As in the early days, so later. The prodigality of many who had won fortunes on the Comstock gave an air of romance to San Francisco, and a reputation, which it never lost, for open-handed, lavish spending, for generosity, hospitality, love of fun. Sprung romantically from the mixing of many races and many types, it retained to the end its cosmopolitan picturesqueness. It has always been a city of men of all kinds and many inclinations. From the first, San Francisco has been gay and pleasure-loving, the lightest-hearted of cities. It adopted a bit here and there from the customs of its various races, and acquired a manner of life quite its own. As far back as the days when Barrett and McCullough played in the stock company of the California Theater, the city has been a chosen home of the drama. So also has it been noted as a place of highly cultivated appreciation of music and art. From the days of Bret Harte and Mark Twain, it has been the center of a widely literary circle. Thousands of people throughout the world have known of Stevenson's lounging days in Portsmouth Square, where he conceived the Wreckers, who had no idea of the city's population or the amount of its trade. But San Francisco was not all fun and gaiety and pleasure. In 1906, it counted its population as 425,000. It had become the seventh city in the United States in volume of bank clearings. Its annual exports amounted to $65 million. Its manufactures to 200 millions. Through it all, seemed still serene, indifferent of fate. The surrounding region poured wealth in upon it, and it was satisfied. Taking its good fortune and luck for granted, it seemed always to be sitting in the midst of wonderful opportunities, indifferent to them. Always, too, it had remained the wonder city, the city of picturesqueness, of romance, the city that was neighbor to the ends of the earth, Alaska, the Orient, the South Seas. Meanwhile, the city had grown out to cover much of the peninsula, had scaled the hills and spread through the intervening valleys. Along in the 60s, the supervisors were discussing whether it would be advisable to limit purchases of land west of Van Ness Avenue to 50 acres, and if those lands would bring $6 an acre. They doubted if they could. Give title to them anyway. They doubted if they could give title to them anyway, as the sandlots, a term general then to all ground west of the avenue, were continually shifting. No way had been discovered to tie the land down to the survey. In 1906, block upon block of houses covered the sandlots of old, and if one would buy, one must pay hundreds of dollars per front foot. During the 70s, the cable road had overcome the hills, and gradually the most distant parts of the city became accessible. Van Ness Avenue, at the western base of Nob and Russian Hills, had been the farthermost limit of the city. Now the western addition, stretching far beyond it, came into being. Market Street became the main thoroughfare. On the north, at varying distances, were the hills. Just beyond the site where the city hall was afterward erected, Hayes Valley, known as Happy Valley until Thomas Hayes began to exploit it, stretched some distance to the west. South of Market, the city had grown out so far that by 1906 the Mission Dolores, once a part of the far country, seemed almost downtown. Far beyond it lay blocks and blocks of close-built residences. Everywhere the houses were wooden. Here, too, the city showed its serene indifference of fate. Visitors marveled at the great frame city. Insurance men shook their heads. foretelling a tremendous conflagration someday. A conflagration that would almost blot out the memory of the great fires of the past, of London, Moscow, Chicago, Boston, and its greater vastness. San Francisco had plenty of experience of the fate that was to overtake it. Pictures. 5 times in the early days it was devastated by fire, and 5 times it was rebuilt. It was with grim pride, therefore, that the city made the legendary phoenix a part of the design of its official seal. In 1850, but without any idea of the task the Phoenix City would later have to perform.